It's easy to fall into the trap of chasing fame. The pursuit of recognition, followers, and applause often turns into an exhausting and sometimes soul-crushing endeavor. But what if I told you there was a better way to view success and worth? What if you could find peace and meaning without needing the approval of others? This path of inner strength leads us to the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, a philosophy that helps you remain grounded, clear-minded, and focused on what truly matters. Stoicism, an ancient Greek philosophy, provides a framework for living a life guided by reason, virtue, and self-mastery. It has stood the test of time precisely because of how it applies to every aspect of life, including our modern obsession with fame. In this video, we'll explore how the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most renowned Stoic philosophers, can help you break free from the illusion of fame and focus instead on inner worth and lasting fulfillment. Let's begin by understanding why so many of us chase fame in the first place. Why do we feel this insatiable urge to be noticed, admired, and applauded? The truth is, it's been carefully conditioned. From the moment we first touched a screen, we've been programmed to believe that visibility equals value. Social media has turned life into a performance where every post is a pitch for attention and every like feels like a measure of our self-worth. We scroll through highlight reels, polished lives, curated bodies, manufactured success, and we begin to feel like we're falling behind. Viral trends tell us how to talk, how to look, how to live. And slowly, without even realizing it, we stop being ourselves. We become actors on a stage we didn't build, performing roles we didn't choose. Our worth becomes entangled with view counts. Our confidence is tied to the rhythm of notifications. And when the numbers slow down, so does our sense of self. This constant cycle of comparison and validation isn't just exhausting, it's dangerous. It convinces you that you must constantly perform, impress, and conform just to be seen. It tells you that if you're not getting attention, you're not doing enough. That your quiet moments of growth, your private victories, your unfiltered self, they don't count unless someone else approves. But Stoicism offers us a different lens, a breath of clarity in the chaos. It teaches us to pause, to observe the madness without being pulled into it, to ask ourselves one of the most powerful questions in the Stoic toolkit. Is this within my control? Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who lived surrounded by glory and temptation, warned us of this trap centuries ago. He wrote, "Ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions." That insight cuts straight to the heart of our modern condition. Chasing fame is a pursuit rooted entirely in things we cannot control. Public opinion, algorithms, the fleeting favor of a crowd that changes its mind in an instant. It's a castle built on sand. You can rise fast, but you can fall faster. And when you build your identity on things that shift with the wind, you're left with nothing solid to stand on. But here's the truth that Stoicism reminds us of. Your character, your principles, your daily discipline, those are yours forever. They don't rise and fall with followers. They don't depend on applause. They're built quietly, brick by brick, in the moments no one sees. And in a world that idolizes fame, living with integrity has never been more rebellious or more powerful. And that brings us to one of the most profound realizations Stoicism has to offer, that the purpose of life is not to be seen, it's to be solid. In Stoicism, the goal isn't recognition, applause, or a standing ovation. It's virtue. It's living rightly, regardless of who's watching. It's waking up each morning, not to chase approval, but to cultivate strength of character. Stoicism teaches us that peace doesn't come from being admired. It comes from being aligned with your values, your actions, and your higher self. When you focus only on what is within your control, your thoughts, your choices, your effort, you begin to experience a kind of freedom that fame can never offer. You're no longer a puppet pulled by public opinion. You become the author of your own behavior, unmoved by noise, grounded in principle. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king himself, captured this truth with sharp clarity when he wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Think about that. In a world where so many people are trying to convince others they're good, Stoicism simply says, stop talking, start living. Don't wait for someone to validate you. Don't wait to be labeled successful. Don't perform your goodness for a crowd. Embody it in silence. The fame-obsessed mind is always asking, do they see me? But the Stoic mind asks, am I being honest with myself? Because legacy isn't built through impressions, it's built through intention. And the more you live with this mindset, the more you start to see how deceptive the pursuit of fame really is. Because fame isn't a reflection of who you are, it's a reflection of what people want to see. And what they want changes. But virtue, that never goes out of style. Integrity never becomes outdated. The life of a Stoic is measured not in likes or views, but in the quiet consistency of choosing what is right over what is easy. You stop needing recognition from others because you've earned the respect of the one person who truly matters. You, yourself. Stoicism places virtue above all else, not as a suggestion, but as the foundation for a meaningful life. And in today's world, that's not just radical. It's revolutionary. We live in an age where appearance is often mistaken for substance, where being noticed is confused with being respected, where people are rewarded not for who they are, but for how well they can play a role, curate an image, or chase the algorithm. But Stoicism calls us back to something timeless. It reminds us that true fulfillment doesn't come from being seen. It comes from being sincere. It doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. Stoicism teaches that the quality of your life is rooted not in your outer achievements, but in your inner stability. That peace is not found in popularity, but in principles. And if you want to be happy, if you want to be whole, it all begins with what's happening inside your own mind. Marcus Aurelius gives us the compass we need when he writes, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Let that sink in. Not the quality of your reputation, not your social status, not your brand, your thoughts. Because if your mind is constantly filled with comparison, with envy, with craving to be seen and approved of, then no amount of followers will ever satisfy you. Your success will always feel hollow. Your victories will feel incomplete. But if your inner world is disciplined, if it's filled with gratitude, wisdom, and self-respect, then even in total obscurity, you will feel full. Even in silence, you will feel seen. Because the person who truly matters, yourself, is paying attention. And here's the truth no one tells you. Recognition doesn't always look like a standing ovation. Sometimes it looks like quiet respect. Sometimes it looks like someone you helped who never told anyone. Sometimes it looks like knowing you chose honesty when lies would have paid more. That's what Stoicism offers, a deeper kind of success, one that can't be taken from you, because it isn't given by others. It's earned through a life of discipline and virtue. And when you live like that, something unexpected happens. You stop chasing admiration, and it begins to follow you. One of Stoicism's key pillars, the one that gives all the others strength, is self-control. In a world of noise and temptation, of instant gratification and constant distraction, self-control isn't just a virtue. It's a superpower. It's the quiet force that allows you to govern your desires instead of being governed by them. And when it comes to fame, the danger lies not only in chasing it, but in needing it, in allowing your sense of worth to rise and fall with public opinion. When you crave recognition, you start to compromise. You say what's popular instead of what's true. You begin shaping your identity around what gets applause instead of who you actually are. You trade authenticity for attention, and at first it might feel like success, but slowly your values get chipped away. You lose your center, and in trying to become everything for everyone, you become nothing for yourself. But Stoicism hands you back the reins. It reminds you that your mind is your domain, and no one can take that from you unless you let them. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled over millions, understood the weight of this discipline better than most. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That single truth can reshape your life, because the world will always try to pull you into trends, into outrage, into ego, into obsession. But with self-control, you stand unmoved. You no longer act out of impulse. You act with intention. You no longer chase approval. You choose purpose. And most importantly, you no longer depend on being seen, because you've already seen yourself clearly. This kind of strength doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't need to. It's the kind of strength that shows up in consistency, in composure, in the quiet decision to stay grounded when others are swept away by emotion or ego. That's what self-control offers. It's not about restriction. It's about liberation. It frees you from the roller coaster of external validation. It protects your integrity. It keeps you rooted in what matters when the spotlight tries to blind you. Because at the end of the day, self-control is the bridge between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. Stoicism teaches us something that fame will never admit, that we are small parts of a vast, unfolding universe. And that's not a reason to feel insignificant. It's a reason to feel free. Because when you zoom out, beyond the filters, the hashtags, the headlines, you realize how little the spotlight actually matters. You begin to understand that much of what we obsess over is temporary, trivial, and often completely outside of our control. The Stoics believed that nature operates with perfect order and wisdom, and that our role is not to dominate it, but to align with it. In the context of fame, this means recognizing that your life has a path, and not every step needs to be televised. You don't need to be seen by millions to be part of something meaningful. You don't need to be known to be valuable. You simply need to live in harmony with who you were meant to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything is right for me which is right for you, universe. Nothing for me is too early or too late, which comes in due time for you." That one line humbles the ego and softens the craving. It's a reminder that timing, outcomes, and recognition all belong to something greater. You don't have to rush to be someone. You don't have to force your story to be louder than it needs to be. The universe doesn't reward those who shout the most. It supports those who are in tune with their purpose. So instead of chasing the fleeting approval of the crowd, Stoicism invites you to trust the process, to let go of control over how you're perceived, to simply do good work, quietly and persistently, whether or not it's ever broadcast. And when you live this way, without the constant need to be noticed, you start to experience a strange kind of peace. The peace of knowing that you're not here to impress, you're here to contribute. The peace of knowing that you don't have to force your place in the world, you simply have to fulfill it. And that might not make you famous, but it will make you fulfilled. Because fame is about being visible, but purpose, that's about being whole. Fame doesn't come overnight, and when it does, it often vanishes just as quickly. It's a spark, brief, blinding, and gone in an instant. Yet many people spend their entire lives chasing that flicker, thinking it will bring warmth, meaning, and validation. But Stoicism reminds us of a sobering truth. What comes quickly is often shallow, and what lasts is often built slowly, patiently, and with intention. We live in an era that glorifies speed, overnight success, viral fame, instant gratification. But what the Stoics understood, and what our generation must relearn, is that the most valuable things in life, the things that endure, take time. Wisdom takes time. Character takes time. Love, resilience, strength, discipline, none of these are delivered through a screen. They're earned in the quiet, unseen hours when no one is clapping and no one is watching. That's why patience is not just a virtue in Stoicism, it's a strategy. Marcus Aurelius, who held unimaginable power yet struggled with the same inner battles we do, wrote, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." What does that mean in the context of chasing fame? It means choosing quality over quantity. It means surrounding yourself not with those who boost your ego, but those who challenge your growth. Not those who cheer for your image, but those who care about your substance. It means understanding that real connection, real recognition, comes from depth, not exposure. And when rejection comes, as it inevitably will, Stoicism doesn't tell you to avoid it. It tells you to transform it. Marcus wrote, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." You see, rejection isn't failure, it's feedback. It's the world reminding you to come back to center, to let go of expectations you can't control, and focus instead on what you can, your effort, your intention, your next step forward. Fame can make you fragile. But Stoicism, it makes you durable. It prepares you for a world that is fickle and often unfair by teaching you that your value isn't found in what others give you. It's found in what you build within. Because in the end, you are not what others say about you. You are what you choose to become in response. And that choice, that power, is always yours. At its core, Stoicism teaches us a truth that cuts through all the noise, all the comparison, all the longing to be more than we are. You are already enough. Before the followers, before the praise, before the recognition, you were already whole. You don't need the spotlight to be valuable. You don't need applause to be at peace. And yet, most of us spend years, sometimes decades, searching for something outside ourselves that can only ever be found within. We look to the crowd to validate our existence. We tie our joy to attention. We wait for someone else to tell us we've made it. But the Stoics remind us, the only approval that truly matters is your own. If your peace can be taken away with a single comment, a single unfollow, a single trend shift, then it was never peace to begin with. It was dependency. Marcus Aurelius, who had everything the world could offer, power, wealth, fame, still wrote in his private journal, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." That sentence is the antidote to modern despair, because it teaches us that fulfillment is not found in things, in numbers, or in status, but in your mindset. It's not the world that must change for you to be happy. It's your perspective. When you stop chasing fame and start cultivating character, when you stop searching for worth and start building wisdom, everything shifts. You no longer need validation because you've validated your own existence by living with purpose. And that's where a different kind of freedom begins. A freedom far more powerful than the illusion of being known. It's the freedom to live by your own standards, to pursue your own values, to wake up each day with clarity, knowing that you're not here to impress the world. You're here to align with your principles. That kind of life doesn't just feel peaceful, it feels powerful, because when your worth comes from within, the world can no longer take it away. So how do you begin? How do you go from craving recognition to cultivating inner strength, from chasing the spotlight to standing in your own light? The path, according to Stoicism, is not grand or flashy. It's not about making some dramatic escape from the world. It's about returning over and over again to the basics, to the truths we already know deep down, but so often forget. The Stoics would say that transformation begins not with the world around you, but with the world within you. The first step? Reflection. Honest, uncomfortable, necessary reflection. Sit with yourself. Ask the hard questions. Why do I crave approval? What am I trying to fill? Who am I when no one is watching? Who am I trying to impress? And why? These are not easy questions, but they are essential, because without self-awareness, there can be no self-mastery. From there, shift your focus, away from outcomes, away from status, away from external validation, and instead towards self-improvement. Not the kind that's designed to impress others, but the kind that quietly sharpens your mind, strengthens your discipline, and anchors your values. As Marcus Aurelius advised, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Channel your energy into growth, not to craft a persona, but to refine your character. Read, learn, building. Take care of your body, your mind, your spirit. Celebrate the small wins, especially the ones no one else sees. They matter more than you think. Practice self-validation. Start noticing the progress that doesn't show up on a feed. Start honoring the efforts that only you know about. And slowly, you'll find yourself depending less and less on the opinions of others. Surround yourself with people who value truth over trend, who challenge your thinking rather than inflate your ego. Replace flattery with honesty. Replace performance with presence. And above all, live simply, authentically, grounded in values that don't change with the times. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In today's world, the best rebellion is to live with depth, to refuse to play the fame game, to stand rooted in a life of purpose while the world chases shadows. Because when you live like that, you don't need to be seen by millions to feel whole. You just need to see yourself clearly, and that is enough. You were not born to be famous. You were born to be wise, to be strong, to be steady. You were born to think deeply, live honestly, and act with courage in a world that constantly pulls you away from yourself. Fame may come, or it may not. But a meaningful life, that is always within your grasp, because you don't need a stage to be significant. You don't need a crowd to have clarity. What you need is alignment. Between your thoughts and your actions, between your values and your choices. And when you begin to live from that place, where your peace comes from principle, not praise, everything changes. The noise quiets, the craving fades, and in its place, something stronger takes root: contentment, confidence, integrity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." So choose thoughts rooted in truth, not trends. Choose stillness over chaos, virtue over vanity. And let your worth be measured not by how many know your name, but by how faithfully you've lived each day in alignment with who you truly are. If this episode helped you slow down and reflect, even for a moment, support Deep Dive Stoic. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel and pass it on to someone who might need it today. I'll see you in the next one.